happy spring. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a hopefully short little book haul. I haven't really been buying too many books. I'm trying to only buy books that I really want or really love, that I've read before, like from the library or something, and that I actually want to own. I tend to not buy really books that I don't know anything about. My main sources of buying books or acquiring them are from like Goodwill, a thrift shop, or little free libraries. I bought a few like online on Book Depository because I like the UK covers better. So those are some of the ways that I've acquired some of these books, and I've broken them down into some various categories. I literally choose the most inopportune times to film because my neighbor is just starting to do yard work right outside my window right here. So that's great. But you know, it's spring and people are out in the garden working, so what can you do about it? Let's jump into this book haul. So my first category is historical fiction. I'll start with my most popular read historical fiction, which is World War II historical fiction. The first one here is We Were the Lucky Ones by Georgia Hunter. This is a book that was recommended to me by my mother-in-law Amy, because she also loves a good historical fiction. This is set in Poland during World War II. It follows a family. I think it has something to do with music. I don't really know too much about it, but just that it came highly recommended, and I saw that it was in excellent condition at a Goodwill for like $2, so pick that one up. The next one that I got was The Nightingale by Kristin Hannah. I have already read The Nightingale. I read it about 3 or 4 years ago. I don't really remember the details of the story, except that I absolutely loved it and I gave it 5 stars. Everyone and their mom on BookTube loves this book, and I wanted to buy it because I know that I loved it and I really want to reread it this year in preparation for the movie that's coming out in December, or hopefully comes out in December. Who knows when movies are coming out these days. So I sort of regret my decision, but I went for this cover that I got on Book Depository, which is the UK cover of this book. I just didn't really love the blue like Eiffel Tower cover that I see everywhere, but I also realized I don't really like this one either. But whatever, I have it now, I own it, and I'm gonna read it and gonna love it. If you don't know, this book is also set during the World War in France, and it follows 2 sisters, and it's tragic and sad. It'll make you cry, and it's an incredible book. And the last World War II setting book is The Tattooist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris. This is based on a true story. I just picked this book up from a little free library, and I was so excited to see it in one. This follows a man who was assigned to tattoo the prisoners in Auschwitz, the numbers on their skin, and that's kind of all I know as well. I know that it's also sad and tragic and whatnot, but I have heard amazing things about it. Moving away from World War II, the next book that I picked up at a Goodwill is Little Bee by Cleave. Again, don't know much about this book, but the reason why I picked it up, can you guess, is because bee is in the title, and I think I'm determined to own every single book that has to do with bees or has any kind of bee stuff on the cover. I thought the cover of this book was amazing, and I know it's historical fiction following, I believe, sisters or a family, and it's set in Nigeria. I definitely want to read more historical books outside of World War II, outside of just the standard European settings that they're all in. So I'm excited to pick this one up at some point. The next book, also from Goodwill, is The Poisonwood Bible by Barbara Kingsolver. I couldn't pass up this amazing, beautiful edition of this book. This book comes highly recommended by a few friends of mine. I know that it's somewhat of a classic. It's also set in Africa. It follows the story of a family who is this evangelical Baptist, and it follows kind of the destruction that he leaves in Africa. And yeah, like I said, I've heard amazing things. So excited about that one. And finally, in the historical fiction books, I have The Four Winds by Kristin Hannah. I know that I'm a fan of Kristin Hannah's work, and from what I've been hearing about this book, which is a new release, that it's also great, so I think I will love it. So I knew I wanted to own it. I don't love hardbacks, so I knew that I didn't want to own the black hardback that I see everywhere of this book. So I went on Book Depository and found this stunning edition, and this is the UK cover, and it's paperback. This follows a family, I believe a mother and a daughter, set during the Dust Bowl Depression era of America, and I know that it's sad. Also historical fiction set in a different timeline. Excited to learn more about that setting. So the next 2 books I have are both sci-fi. So I am definitely not a sci-fi reader. It's not my genre of choice. I've read a few books and I'm open to reading some, but I know that I'll never be like a huge sci-fi person. But I'm a little bit more open to like sci-fi set in realistic settings, if that makes sense. I think that's what people call speculative fiction. I don't even know. But anyways, the first book, Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler. I've heard amazing things about this author. I saw this book at a little free library, so I had to pick it up. But this follows a post-apocalyptic setting of a family living in California in a secluded community set apart, trying to survive away from this like post-climate crisis world. That's a really incredible, interesting setting. Don't know what else happens in this book, but I'm very intrigued and I'm excited to pick up an Octavia E. Butler book. And the next book that I mentioned in a previous video I got from Goodwill was The Bees by Laline Paull. I could not pass up this cover. I mean, are you kidding me? Like the gold bees and the way it catches the light, and this is just a stunning book. But I actually looked up the premise when I looked at this book and it actually sounds really interesting. This follows the perspective of a bee in her colony. So the setting is an actual beehive and it follows Flora 717, who is a sanitation worker, and it follows her journey in this hive, and I'm just very intrigued by what this could be like. So excited to read that one someday. The next two books are just kind of random categories, but I picked up The Masterpiece by Francine Rivers. Francine Rivers is a Christian fiction writer. I've read her Mark of the Lion series and Redeeming Love, which I both loved. I saw this book and I hadn't heard of it before, or that she had written another one. To be honest, this book doesn't sound like something that I would totally pick up. It follows a successful rich artist living in LA, and he has everything he wants, money, success, girls, etc. But inside he's like battling his past and his, you know, inner demons, and it's a redemptive love story. So not really my cup of tea, but I have such a dear place in my heart for Francine Rivers that I thought that I should pick this one up because I have had success reading her other books. I still want to give this book a try, even though it doesn't really sound like it's my kind of book, but we'll see. Maybe I'll be surprised. And then my most recent find at a little free library is The Girl in the Spiderwebs by David Lagercrantz. So I have The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson. This book I mentioned in another video I got from Costco like a million years ago because it was really popular. This is a thriller. I have yet to read it, but I want to read it. And this is a 6-book series as of now. I think it's continuing, but I haven't read this, so I don't know if I will like it, but I've heard good things. So this is book 1. However, this is book 4, but it was perfect condition at a little free library and I couldn't pass it up. I figured I will take it for now, and if I absolutely love this book and want to continue the series, then I have the 4th book eventually, but I would still need to get book 2 or 3. If I, however, read this and don't like it, or like it but not enough to continue the series, then I will just pass this along back into another little free library at some point. That's why I have this random 4th book of the series. And then we're almost done. The last category is nonfiction. I'll start with The 4 Agreements, a wisdom book by Don Miguel Ruiz. This I also found at a little free library. There's stickers that it's from Paull's and it was $13. I got this one for free. Basically, this book has 4 little chapters and it is like 4 words of wisdom to live by, which is be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, always do your best. So this is like a little tiny self-help book about those things. I picked this up because it was a familiar cover and I have heard about this book in the self-help world. The next nonfiction is Stiff, The Curious Lives of Human Cadavers by Mary Roach. So I read Smoke Gets in Your Eyes by Caitlin Doughty and absolutely loved it last year. It's a book that has to do with the world of cremation. This book caught my eye and I saw it recommended because people like that book. Also has to do with the world of human cadavers. Sounds super interesting. The next book that I actually bought is The Imperfect Disciple, Grace for People Who Can't Get Their Act Together. This is a Christian nonfiction that I'm buddy reading with some friends of mine, and we have like a book club. We read a chapter a week and we discuss it. We have 2 chapters left, so I will be finishing this book in April. So far, so good. A really good Christian nonfiction. The next book that I have is Come As You Are, The Surprising New Signs That Will Transform Your Sex Life by Emily Nagoski. So I have heard really good things about this from a woman's perspective. It's all about understanding sexual desire and sexual arousal, particularly from a woman's perspective, and how our society is very much geared towards understanding sex from a male's perspective. But yeah, a good resource to have and understand sex. And then finally, a super random book that I also just recently picked up at a little free library, but is Botany in a Day, The Pattern Methods of Plant Identification by Thomas J. L. Paull, an herbal field guide to plant families of North America. I just saw this at a little free library, and I'm such a sucker for plants, and I'm really in the mood to plant some different flowers outside and do some gardening. So this one just has a bunch of like beautiful illustrations of plants. I don't know how long I will keep this book, but I really wanted to look through it and maybe identify some plants that I want to plant and garden in my yard, and then I'll pass it along. But yeah, this one will be sitting on my coffee table for now until I actually look through it properly. So yeah, those are all of the 15 books that I have acquired in the past several months. They're sort of a random hodgepodge. I'm not a big book buyer. I don't have like huge hauls or anything like that. I kind of just get books that I know about that sound really good, that I know that I'll love, books that I've previously read that I want to own, or just books that I can't like pass up at little free libraries. Thank you for tuning in today. Go enjoy some sunshine if you have anywhere you live. I will see you guys in another video soon. Bye!